Yes, and I'll let the chairman speak to that.
Yes, this plan is built on an extensive market study that was conducted about 18 months ago, and all of the financial program falls from that. As I was explaining with the investment bankers we interviewed last week, they've all looked it over, and the ones who had studied Senator Turner's bill realized that with Senator Turner's bill, this project works.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No worries. Any other questions? Seeing none, Senator Turner, is there anything you want to say to close?
I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity.
Oh, I think
this piece of legislation, as well as this piece of legislation, as well as the one that we talked about a little bit previously, will definitely go a long way to revitalize downtown Springfield and bring a lot of economic development that we sorely need. So thank you for your consideration.
Wonderful. Thank you, Senator Turner. Moving on next, we have our next order of business, which is also a Senator Turner bill. Subject matter hearing on Senate Bill 3614. I'm going to go ahead and announce the witness slips that have been filed. We have 8 filing as proponents, 0 filing in opposition, and 0 filing as neutral. Senator Turner, go ahead and please speak on your bill. Senator Turner, you're muted.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Senate Bill 3614 creates the Small Business Asset Purchase Account for small businesses to deposit reinvestment funds. It allows a 50% income tax deduction in the tax year the small business owner contributes the funds, and another 50% income tax deduction in the tax year the small business owner withdraws the funds. I think that we can all agree that small businesses are the backbone of our communities. I think that no big business can match the care and support of a local mom and pop shop. And I think that this legislation will allow small businesses to make necessary improvements that will allow them to grow and thrive. And this piece of legislation was an initiative of the National Federation of Independent Business that was actually brought to me by a small business owner in the district who is on to talk about the legislation.
All right, I think we have 2 people who are ready to testify on this bill.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Noah Finley, and I'm the Illinois State Director of the National Federation of Independent Business, or NFIB. We represent more than 10,000 small and independent businesses across the state. We really appreciate Senator Turner's leadership on this legislation and her efforts to help small businesses. I'm going to keep my own comments brief since we have an actual small business owner here on the call who can speak to the bill. But just small business asset purchase accounts would free small business owners from the artificial constraints imposed by the tax calendar, allowing them to reinvest their hard-earned funds at the optimal time for their most pressing needs while avoiding unnecessary financing costs. This legislation is about giving small businesses more options, more flexibility when they're making their investment decisions. So thank you for your time today, and also thank you for your support of the small business community.
All right. I think we have the next person, Todd. Okay. If you want to go ahead.
Yep. Good morning. Yes, I'm Todd Bringett of Ace Sign Company. In addition to having roots as Illinois small business, we also serve many of them across the state and across the country as well too. It's get a unique perspective at it. And operating a small business, as we all know, it's not for the meek. Challenges run very high. There's a great deal of respect for people that survive and thrive in the world of small business, and they're the drumbeat of our Illinois economy. I really appreciate folks who come and say, how can we help small business? Asking that question is huge. And so as we ask that, the answer that comes here now is timing. The relationship between the business investment, reinvestment, and our annual tax cycle is a challenge for a lot of small businesses. As we look at that situation, we can see a lot of conflicts where critical equipment purchases or facility upgrades are needed, but the hiccup of this timing challenge can create unhealthy timing decisions for especially for a struggling small business. In the long term, it's really a piece of that helps out with the cash flow. This account is like setting up an even pay plan for your utility bill, essentially. It creates more of a level pay for businesses. It also creates more of a level income for the state from that perspective. The real win-win comes from accounts where it's like an HSA. It helps businesses get the timing right and promote a healthy reinvestment that at the end of the day, none of these Illinois small businesses are doing this without the idea of growing our economy, growing job opportunities. So in the end of the day, it's good for all. The small business savings accounts are a way to let small businesses know that we see them, we support them. At the end of the day, their future is our future, their survival is our survival, and their growth is our growth. So again, thank you for your time and thank you for your support of Illinois small businesses.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Any discussion from members of the committee? Okay, seeing none. Senator Turner, is there anything you want to say in closing?
No, I thank you for consideration of the legislation. And again, plain and simple, I think that Senate Bill 3614 creates a safe place for small businesses to set aside reinvestment funds for capital expenses such as building improvements, equipment, and technology. And I think that it was said perfectly by the individual from a sign company that when small businesses thrive, we all thrive. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Turner. And your torture is now over. Appreciate you.
I apologize for the light coming behind me. I know it's Easter and it looks like I'm the
angelic. Thank you, Senator Turner, and we'll see you soon enough in person. On to our next order of business. We have subject matter hearing on Senate Bill 2830. Senator Preston, before you go ahead and speak on your bill, I'm going to announce your witness slips that have been filed. We have 0 filing as proponents, 0 filing opposition, and 0 as neutral. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and speak on your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Today I present Senate Bill 2830, the Property Justice Act, a bill rooted in a simple but urgent principle. Government should not profit from its own mistakes, and our residents should not lose their homes because of them. Right now in Illinois, and particularly in Cook County, we have a system where administrative errors can trigger a chain reaction. Properties are wrongly sold, families are displaced, and taxpayers are left holding the bag for costly refunds, sometimes with interest, to private investors who assume little to no risk. This bill restores balance, accountability, and fairness to that system. First, Senate Bill 2830 ends the practice of paying interest in sale and error refunds caused by government mistakes, or at a minimum caps the interest at a reasonable level. Taxpayers should not be penalized for errors they did not create. Secondly, the bill introduces shared responsibilities requiring purchasers to bear at least 10% of the risk when issues could have been identified through ordinary due diligence. That is a common sense reform that brings integrity back to the marketplace. Third, we require pre-sale certification from key county officials, the assessor, the treasurer, the sheriff, and the clerk of the circuit court, to ensure properties are legally eligible for sale, notices are properly served, and tax amounts are accurate. If those basic steps are not completed, the sale is void. That is about getting it right on the front end. Fourth, this bill tackles one of the most devastating realities in our communities, the cycle of abandonment in distressed communities. Instead of cycling properties through scavenger sales that are often leading to nowhere, This bill redirects properties into a newly created Community Revitalization Property Trust, or land bank, where they can be repurposed for real community development, not speculation. We also address the issue of excessive tax burdens by extinguishing delinquent taxes that exceed 125% of a property's value, because at that point, we're no longer collecting taxes. We are effectively condemning properties. And finally, this bill increases transparency, requiring public reporting on errors and refunds so that we can hold systems and ourselves accountable. Members, this legislation is about fairness, but it's also about restoring confidence. Confidence that our tax system works for people, not against them. Confidence that government will act responsibly, and confidence that the distressed communities can rebuild instead of being trapped in cycles of disinvestment. I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Senator Preston. Senator Walker?
Thank you, Senator. I fully understand the unfairness of the current system and the steps to help with that. I have a couple of questions. Have you considered, and if so, why not, is this limited to Cook County?
You know, the large share, the counties across the state are not all in unison. In some counties, you don't have these issues at all, or a very minimum. And so we wanted to tackle what the largest share of the problem is at this current moment. But I don't believe that this limits to Cook County, but it certainly focuses on Cook County.
Oh, I understand. I'm questioning, why did you not limit it to Cook County?
Well, because there are other counties that experience this, but not at the levels of Cook County. And as of right now, you know, I have not been asked to limit it to Cook County. But if, you know, the lack of this limiting it to Cook County doesn't hurt other counties if they're not experiencing these levels. Anyway.
That's a good argument. We have a land bank in Cook County, and your revitalization trust. How is that different, and why does one work and not the other?
Well, I don't think that. I think the market is demonstrating that the land bank isn't necessarily working for certain municipalities. You look at Fort Heights, you look at Harvey, Illinois, and some of these communities that have essentially whole neighborhoods that are not being purchased, and the land bank doesn't seem to have been effectively encouraging people to go into these communities and redevelop them. And so this is in no way, shape, or form any knock against the current Cook County Land Bank. I think it's actually working quite effectively. But what this does is it gives us another tool to be able to directly help those municipalities that don't seem to be enjoying the benefit of or encouraging the people to come in and invest in those particular towns that I just named.
I like your bill. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator Walker. Senator Martwick?
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We sure
I know
can.
I'm remote here. Okay. Senator, and so I want to follow up on what Senator Walker said, and thank you for this legislation. So just to preface this, I am acutely aware of the problems that the Southland faces in terms of property taxes, exceptionally high rates, declining values, and of course, as you mentioned, lots of properties being sold. Can you just tell me, just following up on Senator Walker's, how would this land bank differ from the one that Cook County is currently running?
Sure. This particular provision, this particular land bank would have those municipalities that will be a part of it. They will also have folks from the industry on this board. And in particular, when we have folks from the Southland, as an example, where they're experiencing so much of this blight, I believe they will have a better gauge on how to be able to market the properties in those distressed towns. Again, not in any way trying to undermine the current Cook County Land Bank, but I think the structure will be slightly different.
Okay. And I appreciate that. There was something else that you mentioned when you were running through the provisions of your bill, and I want to make sure I understand it. You mentioned something about, and correct me if I got this wrong, because I probably did. I was scribbling fast as you were speaking. I heard something about canceling taxes when they are in excess of 125% of the value. Can you explain that provision a little bit better to me? And if I got it wrong, please correct me on what that was, because it caught my attention.
Sure. Well, essentially, some of these properties have, this legislation would like to cap it if the taxes on, say, a property exceeds 125% of the property's value. We would want to cap that, and then that's when it would be an opportunity for it to move into this land bank style. Because what's happening is these properties are constantly being put through this tax sale system. No one's buying them, no one's investing in them, and then the properties are just accumulating, and to the point where we see in places like, again, like Ford Heights, I'm going to use them for an example, where they just continue to stack up, and no one is being able to redevelop them because they're worthless. And the people in them sometimes are just staying in them. They're not going to pay their taxes. What that provision would do is it will simply say that the taxes are not going to be paid, and we're going to redirect this particular property and put it back on the tax rolls.
I mean, isn't that, unless I misunderstand, isn't that basically the gist of what a scavenger sale says? A scavenger sale says, we tried to collect taxes through the normal tax sale process. We were unable to do it. So now we'll just go ahead. Anybody wants to bid on this property, whatever you pay us, it's yours. And so, you can go to a scavenger sale, and again, if no one's bidding on these, you can go and buy these properties for next to nothing, and you start fresh and anew, right? So doesn't that already exist with the current? And again, I know with Tyler v. Hennepin, we definitely have to, we've got some serious revisiting to do with the way that we manage this. But I'm just wondering if that, again, this 125% of value is the part that I didn't quite understand. And Senator, and I mean this respectfully, these issues are sometimes a bit more complicated. So if you want to follow up on this, I'd be happy. These are great initiatives, and these are the kind of things that I'm very interested in and like to help you with. So if you want to follow up with me, I'll be happy to follow up with you later on that. There was a couple of provisions that caught my eye that interesting in concept, and I'd love to see how we make those effective.
Sure, but essentially what we're going to, what this bill wants to do, aims to do, is to extinguish those taxes and give some of the local control back, and allow these people, particularly those that are in that community, to buy these taxes. To get these properties back through the land bank, redevelop them. No responsible investor is buying these properties, and I understand. I think all of us can understand why. So. Happy to have a further dialogue on this particular provision, and welcome your support on working together on this piece of legislation to strengthen it.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for your efforts to try and address what I think is really, I don't know if I should say this publicly or not, but I think is one of the worst instances of institutional racism in our system, and that is the way the property tax system treats communities of color in the Southland. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions from members of the committee? Oh, Senator Balkema, I see your hand up.
Yeah, this is Chris. Thank you, Senator Preston, for bringing this forward. I agree overall. I think in the concept, and I also, whoops, excuse me, I'm sorry, I got a call going. I would think it would be great to look at this holistically going forward for the other 101 counties as well. But I understand the start here. And I also agree that property taxes is just something that we have all got to get our arms around, in looking at the areas of the situation where things appear to be exploited, which I agree with in this case is the case, and your bill is definitely taking a great stab at addressing that. So in concept, I agree overall. I'm also excited to work across the aisle on both sides to be able to figure out what we can do going forward to have a little bit more holistic solution. That Supreme Court ruling that came through a few years ago, and I know Illinois is the last state standing that we haven't addressed that. So I'm excited that we're working together to figure out the best ways to address that in the appropriate layers. So thank you so much for bringing it forward, and I look forward to bring us to the point where we are one of the lowest property tax in the nation as opposed to the highest right now at 1.83%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Balcoma. Any other questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, Senator Preston, is there anything you want to say in closing?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to present this bill. This bill at its core is about fairness. It is also about protecting taxpayers. They're carrying all of the risk. Speculators are not in an environment here where they can make responsible investments. It's just we've allowed complete speculation here, and it's led to communities that are just been decimated with blight, and we want to correct that and protect the taxpayers and encourage responsible investments so that we can redevelop communities that have been unfairly treated through our property tax system. So thank you all. Thank you to the members of the committee for hearing me out.
Thank you, Senator. Up next, moving forward, we're halfway there, folks, so thank you for hanging on with us. For people on the Zoom, if you are not speaking, please make sure that you are muted. Please make sure that you are muted. And if you are no longer present to provide testimony, I would ask that you exit the Zoom. Thank you. Moving up next, we have Senate Bill 2097 presented to us, or subject matter hearing on Senate Bill 2097 presented to us by Senator Erica Harris. Senator, before you go ahead, I'm going to announce the witness slips that have been filed. We have 2 filing as proponents, 0 filing in opposition, and 0 filing as neutral. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and please speak on your bill.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Today, I bring you Senate Bill 2097. This legislation creates an income tax credit for foster care expenses of up to $1,000 for foster parents who incur these expenses while caring for children who are placed with them through the Department of Children and Family Services. This credit is available for each foster child. According to data from March 31st from the DCFS website, 5,800 children are currently in foster care in Illinois. I recently was able to attend a banquet with Restore Network locally here. They are an organization that works to support children in foster care. During that event, I learned that 50% of foster families leave within the first year, and 36% of children experience 2 or more placements. While each situation is unique, there's no question that raising children is expensive, and we should be doing more to support the families who step up to care for them. So under this bill, a taxpayer must provide care for at least 6 months to receive the full credit, with a prorated amount available for shorter placements. The credit's non-refundable, but can be carried forward for up to 5 years. So this is a practical and meaningful way to support foster families and help ease the financial burden that comes with caring for some of the most vulnerable children in our state. And this credit could make a difference whether a child can participate in an extracurricular activity like music, dance, soccer, or simply have access to essentials like clothing and nutritious meals. We do have a witness today to testify on behalf of this who has some personal experience as well, and that is William Adams.
Wonderful. William, whenever you want to go ahead.
Thank you. I do appreciate your time and consideration. This bill has been in many creation in legislative session all the way from the 101st to the current one. It started out with House Bill 5119, and then it's been in different fruitions since then. Chairwoman and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 2097. This bill is established as a targeted fiscal responsibility income tax credit to support Illinois foster parents who incur out-of-pocket expenses while caring for the children in the custody of DCFS. I want to briefly note that I have a personal experience with this issue. I entered the foster care system at the age of 9 and remained in care until I was aged out at the age of 18. As you can see, I'm a lot older than I was then. That experience is why I care deeply about both the children in the system and the foster parents who support them. Foster parents in Illinois do receive a monthly tax-free stipend ranging from approximately $500 for fictive kin to over $1,100 per children, based depending on age and level of care. These payments are designed to cover baseline needs such as food, clothing, housing, and are not considered income. However, the stipend is a baseline support and does not fully cover variable real-world expenses. Foster parents often absorb additional costs for the school-related needs, transportation, clothing replacement, and other day-to-day expenses that fluctuate by placement. At the same time, federal and state tax relief through the Earned Income Credit is not consistently available in foster care due to situations due to eligibility requirements tied to residency, custody, and documentation. In some cases, when a child has already been claimed for tax purposes, foster parents must file paper returns and wait extended periods, sometimes years, for resolutions, results in delayed or unavailable relief. SB 2097 addresses these gaps by providing a clear state-level credit for up to $1,000 per qualifying foster child. The credit is prorated based on length of care and includes a 5-year carry forward, while remaining non-refundable to ensure fiscal impact is controlled and predictable. Illinois currently has, as the senator said, 5,800 children in foster care. This bill is a modest step to supporting placement and stability and foster parents' retention while maintaining budget discipline. If enacted, Illinois will become the first state to implement a structured foster care tax credit, providing targeted relief while addressing a gap that largely goes unrecognized for foster families. I respectfully ask for your consideration in passing this.
Thank you. Questions from members of the committee? All right, seeing none, Senator Harris, is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
I'd respectfully ask for your support. It's a great bill. I would encourage members of the committee to sign on to it.
Thank you, Senator. All right, moving on to our next order of business, which is a subject matter hearing on Senate Bill 3959. Senator Harris, I'm going to announce the witness slips that have been filed so far, and that we have 2 filing as proponents, 0 filing in opposition, and 0 filing as neutral. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and please speak on your bill.
Thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 3959, the Welcome Home Illinois Tax Credit. For many Illinois families, a home is their financial foundation. Today, rising costs, limited inventory, and high property taxes are making home ownership much harder, especially for first-time buyers. As our younger generation delays buying a home, they miss out on years of building up that generational wealth that's part of the American dream. The numbers tell the story. The average first-time home buyer is now 40 years old, and only 21% of homes are purchased by first-time home buyers. Additionally, housing prices in Illinois have steadily increased, further pricing out first-time home buyers. The statewide median sales price was $195,000 in 2017, and that's grown to $300,000 in 2025. That's a 54% increase in less than 10 years. For many young people, the path to homeownership is getting further out of reach. This bill takes a practical step to help. It creates a $500 non-refundable income tax credit for first-time homebuyers purchasing a principal residence in Illinois with unused credit carried forward for up to 5 years. It's targeted, modest relief helped at aiming the early and often most difficult years of homeownership. It's not a cure-all, but it's a meaningful step and signals that Illinois supports young families and wants them to build their future here. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Senator Harrison. Before we continue, I have a request from Paul Elders from Blue Room Stream requesting permission to video stream this committee today. Request being granted. Questions from members of the committee? Seeing no questions, Senator Harris, anything you want to say in closing?
Again, this bill first-time home buyers to Illinois, and we appreciate your support. Thanks for hearing today.
Thank you, Senator Harris. On to our next order of business. We have subject matter hearing on Senate Bill 3828 presented to us by Senator Martwick. Senator, before you speak on your bill, I'm going to announce the witness slips. There's one filing as a proponent, 0 filing in opposition, and 0 filing as neutral. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and please speak on your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and ladies and gentlemen of the committee. And I'm sorry, 3828, is that correct? I'll make sure I'm on the right bill here.
Yes, and don't worry,
Yes.
I know it's Thursday morning and we've gone through a lot of bills. So yes, Senate Bill 3828.
Thank you. It amends the Cigarette Machine Operators Occupation Tax Act, the Cigarette Tax Act, and the Cigarette Use Tax Act, and the Tobacco Products Tax Act, in particular regarding licensing laws. It modernizes statutes by requiring electronic applications, filings, and payments, standardized procedures, licensing standards, and eligibility across multiple acts, including consistency and ineligibility provisions, evaluation, rehabilitation requirements for criminal convictions, requirements for applicants to attest to compliance with the Tobacco Products Manufacturers Escrow Enforcement Act, and a 30-day protest period compared to 20 days in some provisions. Required notifications of the Department of Revenue about changes to the information on an application within 30 days of change. It also eliminates the $2,500 surety bond requirement for applications for cigarette machine operators, distributors, and certain permit holders beginning July 1st, 2027, and repeals the related bond forfeiture provisions effective January 1st, 2028. This is an initiative of the Illinois Department of Revenue. I apologize. I'm reading. I see Richard is here with us. So I will turn it over to him if he wants to add any further clarification or expansion upon what I said. And of course, he would be the expert to answer any questions and happy to answer any. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Richard, it's always great to see you. If you want to go ahead, are you providing testimony or are you just here answering questions?
Well, good morning, Chair Villanueva, members of the committee. Just to introduce myself, Richard Scrow, Legislative Director for the Department of Revenue. Senator Mark did an excellent job summarizing what this legislation does. The only additional provision I would make note of is that the legislation also provides the cost of destruction of seized product or contraband that is currently borne by the state would be borne by the possessor or owner of the seized property and contraband. This has become more of an issue lately with vapes and e-cigarettes that have lithium-ion batteries. So once those products need to be destroyed, first of all, they're dangerous to store prior to destruction, and then they are very expensive to dispose of. So this adds that provision across the 4 tax acts that Senator Martwick noted earlier in his presentation. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful, thank you. Questions from members of the committee? I did have one question, and it's just clarifying, because again, just wanted to make sure as we're having these conversations, this is just really trying to like put everything kind of like making it more uniform, because I guess as we've done, our work as the legislator, sometimes things don't coincide with one another, and we're just trying to make things and create uniformity across the different acts. Am I correct?
Exactly, yeah. I think probably the Cigarette Tax Act is the one that has received the most attention. So when that has been amended, some of the other ancillary tax acts have not been, so you're correct.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, Senator Martwick, anything you want to say in closing?
No, thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for bringing forward this bill. Up next,
Thank you.
We have a subject matter hearing on Senate Bill 3765 that is being presented to us by Senator Halpin, but unfortunately Senator Halpin is not with us, so he has kindly requested Senator Mark Walker to go ahead and present his bill for him. And Senator, before you go ahead and speak on the bill, I'm going to announce the witness slips that have been filed. We have 5 filing as proponents, 0 filing in opposition, and 0 as neutral. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and speak on your bill.
Thank you, Chair. This is the Senate Bill 3765, for which I am Chief Co., is the Short Line Railroad Modernization Act. Now, that's a very expansive title. In fact, this bill is very focused. It allows for income tax credits for those who spend money on railroad expenditures or new rail infrastructure for very short line railroads. These are the railroads and the connectors that connect our industrial parks, our major manufacturers, our ports to major rail lines. They are all over the state. They are in need of maintenance, in need of expansion. And the focus of this bill is on new economic development projects who have to apply for these credits to DCEO. And so I'm going to turn it over to my witnesses. Whoever wants to go first, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ryan Peedy with Mickelson and Company. We represent a number of short line railroads across the state of Illinois, helping them finance rail infrastructure improvements with a variety of different sources. This is a good bill. It's modeled after legislation that's been implemented in 14 other states. It's really all about economic development. It's about preserving the existing rail infrastructure in the state, but also incentivizing the construction and building of new rail infrastructure to connect industrial parks and ports and businesses to the national rail network. The state of Illinois has the second largest rail network in the United States. It comprises 7,000 track miles across the state and 45 railroads. 30% of that, roughly, is owned and operated by short line railroads. And so if you read the financial press and you see the names, the Union Pacific or the Norfolk Southern, those are Class 1 railroads. These short lines, there's 40 of them in the state, are really kind of like your local highways and county roads that gather commodities from the rural areas or the customers at the end of the line and hand them off to the Class 1s at the interstate, so to speak. And so this railroad's about accelerating rail infrastructure investment. It's not a handout. It's structured in a way where the railroads must make the investment first. The theme is it's expensive to maintain track. It's even more expensive to build new rail infrastructure. So if you think of like the off-ramp that you would construct to connect your industrial park in your district, that's about $3 million a mile. And so where this has been implemented elsewhere across the country, it's resulted in significant economic impact. And we think it'd be a wonderful program for the state that would not only help the short lines, excuse me, in the communities they serve, but all the customers that are dependent on a solid rail infrastructure network to get their products to market. So thank you for your time this morning. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. My name is Ken Lucht, and I'm with Watco. We own and operate 4 short line regional railroads here in the state of Illinois. We have the Decatur and Eastern Illinois Railroad in the 44th Senate District, the Elwood, Joliet, and Southern Railroad, Cicero Central Railroad, and the Wisconsin and Southern Railroad in the 12th Senate District. We operate about 18% of the total track miles here in the state of Illinois. So, like Ryan had mentioned, we're like the local and the county roads, okay? We're the small family-run businesses in Illinois. We've saved these lines from going into abandonment from predecessor railroads. Our short line regional railroads help serve the first and the last mile. So you compare it to a highway system, you come off the interstate, we're then going to take that product to the end customer, okay? So we're very important in the logistical supply chain here in the state of Illinois, whether it's sugar or corn used for making syrup, grain, or sand used for producing renewable energy resources, or lumber and forest products used to feed the paper industry. Rail plays a big role in moving commodities across our state's transportation network safely and efficiently. Today, rail plays a big role in freeing up capacity on our federal, state, and local roads by moving over 600 million tons by our roadway system, by our rail system versus our roadway system each year. This is the equivalent to over 9 million trucks that would be moving on our federal, state, and local roadways, okay? This saves the state of Illinois over $42 million annually in pavement damage. So Senate Bill 3765, obviously which we support, There's about 21% of all the track miles here in the state of Illinois is operated by short line and regional railroads. Again, our small family-run businesses. One of our biggest challenges is infrastructure, like Ryan had mentioned. With the state federal regulations that are imposed upon our industry, in addition to the self-governance of our companies, safety is absolutely number one. So it typically costs in our industry about $20,000 a mile just to maintain our infrastructure. The materials and the track running machines are large and they're very expensive. So it's a very big challenge for us to remain competitive in this industry. So Senate Bill 3765 will enable short line railroads to budget in advance for critical infrastructure improvements, capital improvements such as our ties, crossings, bridges, and other drainage facilities in hundreds of local communities here in the state of Illinois. It's a reimbursable credit after investments are made and certified first. So the tax credit also will ensure that Illinois farmers, producers, manufacturers, and all short line railroad customers remain competitive, both in domestic and global markets. This credit will help Illinois grow, and we want to help you grow in that fashion. Like Ryan said, 14 other states. Illinois is surrounded by states that have tax credits. Wisconsin's working on one as we speak, just like Illinois is. We have a handful of other states also that are looking at trying to help the small family-run short line railroads. So really asking your support for the Senate Bill 3765. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, Senator Walker, anything you want to say in closing?
Yes, one of the reasons I greatly support this bill, given our fiscal situation, is it's very focused on growth projects and key infrastructure for things like new factories, ports, building out our enterprise zones, and that those are the criteria we're going to use to grant these awards. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Walker. Finally, and to our last order of business, and last but not least, we have subject matter hearing on 3944, brought to us by Senator DeWitt. Senator, before you speak on the bill, I'm going to go ahead and announce the witness slips that have been filed. We have 0 filing as proponents, 0 filing in opposition, and 0 filing as neutral. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and speak on your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You never want to be the last speaker before lunch, so I'll be as brief as I can. Senate Bill 3944 amends various sales and use tax acts to create a sales tax exemption for solar energy systems that are primarily used to provide electricity to the location they are installed in. After Illinois began adding sales tax to leases of tangible personal property several years ago, some residential customers, a number of them in my district, discovered their leases for solar panels were now being taxed. This legislation would exempt those leases from the sales tax being added. I would best describe this proposal as an unforeseen circumstance related to the legislation that was passed 2 years ago, transferring sales tax liability from the acquisition of the personal property to the actual leasing of the personal property. With regard to solar panels, a number of solar panel contractors started using leasing as a funding tool, which eliminated some of the cost of a very expensive product, very similar to automobiles that a number of us take advantage of. This corrects that problem with regard specifically to solar panels. I don't particularly see any reason that we should be penalizing people who are going ahead and making the investment in these products to provide themselves with electricity while at the same time doing their part to shrink their carbon footprint, for lack of a better description. There are other problems that have incurred, ranging everything from bowling shoes to golf carts to cable TV boxes that the chairman and I have discussed on a regular basis. We are currently working through correcting language with the Department of Revenue that hopefully can solve this unforeseen circumstance in this legislation. but I felt strongly enough, based on the number of inquiries we got at the office, that the solar panel issue, as important as a program as solar energy is in this state, we felt the need to take care of this one as promptly as we can. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions and appreciate the opportunity to have this bill heard today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator DeWitt. And yes, we have talked a lot about cable boxes, and it still behooves me as to, the why this is happening. But before I go into anything else, are there any questions from members of the committee? All right, seeing none, Senator DeWitt, is there anything you want to say in closing? I know we're going to continue to have conversations around this one.
Yep, and we are in contact as recently as yesterday with Department of Revenue to keep moving this forward. So I appreciate the hearing accommodation.
Wonderful. Thank you, Senator DeWitt. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us here today. If there be no further business to come before this committee, this meeting of the Senate Revenue Committee stands adjourned.